Hi everyone, welcome to 9.4 dividing by tens, hundreds, and thousands, and this is going to be day one's lesson. We're going to split this up into 2 days. All right, let's get started. The first thing I'd like to go over is, you guessed it, place value. So when we look at dividing by tens, hundreds, and thousands, place value comes into play just like it did with multiplying. So when we have a decimal, remember that these things do not change. The decimal is here, to the right is always the tenths, to the left is always the ones, and so on and so forth. Ones, tens, hundreds, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. We actually haven't learned this one, so I'll erase that. So here is where we would put digits in a place value, in our place value. So when we did multiplication, we said that the decimal, the number gets bigger. So there's 2 ways to think of it. The decimal moves to the right, making the number get bigger, or the numbers are shifting to the left, making the number get bigger. Well, guess what? Dividing is the opposite. So the decimal shifts to the, I'm trying to think of how it would get smaller. Okay, the decimal shifts to the left. It hurts your brain thinking about this stuff, guys. You have to think about it over and over again for your brain to build those synapses, and it becomes part of your everyday thinking. So the decimal would move to the left, or you can think of it as the digits moving to the right. So let me show you what I'm talking about. If I had, I'm actually going to rewrite this to give me a hundredths place. So 1, 2, 3, decimal point 1, 2, 3. All right. So if I had the number 120. Now, if I was multiplying, this decimal is going to go this way to make this number bigger, right? Because then 1,000, now it becomes 1,200 if it was over here. Well, in this case, we're dividing, the number is going to get smaller, so this decimal is going to actually go this way. Or you can think of it as the numbers going that way. So if I was dividing this by 10, then it's going to shift 1 time, and my answer would be 12. All right, now let's divide it by, actually, we're just going to divide by 10 today. So we're starting with just dividing by 10. So that's really it. Let's look at another one. If I have 10 and I am dividing by 10, it's going to shift 1 over. My answer is 1. So it looks like this. My answer would be 1. All right, let's try another one. If I have 1 and I divide by 10, I'm going to shift again 1 place, and now I have 0.1, or 1/10. And yep, you guessed it. If I had 1/10, make this look prettier, and I'm dividing by 10, it's going to shift 1, and now I have 0.01 or 1/100th. So you can think of it as the decimal moving, but you can also think of it as those numbers shifting. So if I had 120 and I was dividing by 10, these numbers are all shifting. I'm going to lower this actually to show you the shift. They're all shifting 1 place. So the 0 goes here, the 2 goes here, the 1 goes here, and that's 12. And now with 10, 10 shift 1, it's 1. And now with 1, shifts 1, we fill in this as a placeholder, and we have 1/10. And 1/10. That shifts 1, so this would be the same. This would be shifting 1, placeholder, and I have 1/100th. All right, let's try a problem. And I am following your hard book. In case you were wondering, all these problems come from your hard book. And I'm going to go ahead and do the first problem in the guided learning, which is 291 divided by 10. So now I'm taking that place value away. So we should just recognize, where would the decimal be? It would be here. And the numbers are going to shift 1 to the right, or the decimal moves 1 to the left. Again, decimals don't actually move. What's happening is the value of the numbers changing when you divide by 10. So if this shifted 1 over, it would be 29.1. Let's try another one. If I have 49.1 and I divide by 10, they would be shifting to make it smaller. So it would be 4 91/100. Let's try one more. If I had 89 and 2 hundredths and I divided by 10, again, my decimal would shift to make the number smaller, and I would have 8 902 thousandths. Your turn. One. 6 31 hundredths divided by 10. 2. 4 7 hundredths divided by 10. And 3. 6 78 hundredths divided by 10. Go ahead and try them, and then I'm going to give you the answers. So hit pause. Okay, we're back. So if I am going to make this smaller, because remember, we're making the number smaller when we're dividing by 10, then it's going to shift 1, and it's going to be 631 thousandths. This one would be 407 thousandths, and this one would be 678 thousandths. Alrighty, moving on. The next learn would be, oh, actually, let me just show you one more thing. You're also going to see problems like this, where there's a missing number here and you have to figure out what it is. Well, this lesson is tens, hundreds, and thousands. So you know that's probably what's going to go there. But you look at the digits, they're the same. So you know that the only thing that changed was the place value, and you have to see by how many. So 45 is larger than 4, which means we're dividing, so that's correct. And by 1 place value, or 10. The amount of zeros is the amount of place values that the shift is happening. All right, now let's move on to the next learn. So now we're just going to look at a problem. If I had multiples of 10, so you can break apart numbers to take the 10 out like we've been doing. So we can take 60, for example, and divide by 20. Well, 60 divided by 20 is the same thing as 60, and 20 is the same thing as 2 and 10. So it's like we are taking that 20 apart and just dividing by 2 and then by 10. So 60 divided by 2 would be 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So 30 divided by 10 Well, when we divide by 10, we shift 1 over. Another way to think of it is these zeros cancel each other out. But really, the 10 makes me shift over, which would be 3. So we can say that 60 divided by 20 is 3. Let's try another one. If I had 6 divided by 20, that's the same thing as 6 divided by 2 divided by 10. Well, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 divided by 10 would be a shift in place value, and it would be 3/10. I always say do the zeros to show you what you did. Excuse me. No, I did not say that right. I always say show the arrows, not the zeros. Okay, let's try one more. If I had 6/100 divided by 20, I would have 6/100 divided by 2 divided by 10. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 6/100 divided by 2 is 3/100. Divided by 10, I'm going to shift over 1. Oh, that would be multiplying. Oops. So I go this way. That's wrong. I'm sorry. I'm having a mind break. I keep multiplying. How do I know I'm multiplying? Because the number's getting bigger. The number should be getting smaller. So I really need to shift this way. So I have 3/1000. All right. I'm going to do one. And this time I'm going to pause so you could think about what you would do. So this is the same thing as 8 divided by what divided by 10. If you said 4, you're right. So then this is the same thing as what divided by 10. If you said 2, you're right. And what about the next step? 2 divided by 10. If you said 2/10, you are correct. And so 8 divided by 40 equals 2/10. Your turn. Eight tenths divided by 40 equals 8/10 divided by what? Divided by 10, which equals what divided by 10, which equals what? And therefore 8/10 divided by 40 equals what? I'm going to give you some time to do this. So pause it and then I'll show you. All right. Here's the answers. All right, now I'm going to have you do one more problem. You guessed it, 8/100 divided by 40. It's the same as 8/100 divided by 4 divided by what? Which equals and equals. So therefore, 8/100 divided by 40 equals what? Go ahead and try this one. I'll give you the answers in a second. Okay, so this would be 10 because we have the 4 here, and the 10 would make 40. 8 divided by 4 is 2, but it's hundredths. Hundredths divided by 10 would make it thousandths. So therefore my answer is 2/1000ths. All right, now you're gonna try it all on your own. Number 1, 18 divided by 30. Number 2, 6/10 divided by 40. And number 3, 407 divided by, no, I take that back, I'm sorry. The last one's gonna be 14/100 divided by 70. All right, go ahead and pause it. You should have your paper out. You should be doing this on your own. Take your time, check your work. And now you can unpause it, that you've done that, and here are the answers. Are we ready? This is how I do it without all of the steps. I look at the first number, and I just divide that. So 18 divided by 3 is 6. And then I see that I also have to divide by 10, which would make it 6/10. I feel like I want to think of another way to think of that because it is a little bit confusing. So give me a second. I guess you can think of it as you're taking 6 and dividing it by 10, which is what we did in the last section. So if 18 divided by 3 is 6, well then 6 divided by 10 would be 6/10. So now 16 divided by 4 is 4, but it's not 16, it's 1 and 6/10. So it would be 4/10. And 4/10 divided by 10 would be 4/100. One thing I think might help you with this is to even write the place value out so you know like what comes first, what comes second, what comes third. So it's kind of like, okay, well, here's the ones place, here's tenths, hundredths, thousandths. This one is the smallest, then this one, then this, this one's the biggest, then this one. So when I'm changing and dividing, it's gonna go from tenths to hundredths to thousandths. So I know that as I divide by 10, this is the order that it would go smaller and smaller and smaller. So let's look at that for number 3. So 14/100 divided by 7 would be 2/100, but 2/100 divided by 10 would be thousandths. So it's 2/1000ths. Excuse my computer. I have a meeting soon. All right, that is day 1. I don't know why I wrote day 1s. That's annoying. Day 1. So tomorrow will be day 2, and we're going to go over hundredths and maybe thousands too. Let me check. Yep, we're going to go over hundredths and thousands. You got this. It's the same thing. So practice with tens, and then we'll do hundredths and thousands. See you tomorrow. Or actually, no. See you next time we have math. Bye.